town meeting to order. It's now 7:01. And thank you everybody for coming in. I had no idea what the rain was gonna do. It's like all of a sudden as I'm looking out there and it's like, oh wow, we could just, all I know is that we needed the rain and it's gonna be nice and cool when we get out of here. So, we had, I'm gonna say a little bit of a meet and greet. So just to go ahead and for general business, everybody got a copy of the agenda. Does anybody have any type of corrections or edits?
This is the Affordable Housing Committee, so, or is it a joint, is it a joint?
Well, we're running the meeting, and it's a joint meeting,
Okay.
but it's gonna be,
Thank you.
it's gonna be us, so.
Okay.
The Affordable Housing Committee.
Yeah, do you have to read that paragraph at the front?
Oh, yes, I do. Thank you. All right. This meeting of the Ayer Affordable Housing Committee will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in the specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. Zoom information for this meeting can be obtained by contacting Cindy Knox, the IT manager, at it@ayer.ma.us, or call 978-772-8220, extension 123, or Alicia Hershey, Community Development Program Manager at ayer.ma.us, or call 978-772-8220, extension 142 prior to the meeting. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, Ken. All right, so again, going with general business. Any changes to the agenda? All right, so on the members of the Ayer Affordable Housing Committee, can I hear a motion to?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as written. Second.
All right, and all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You got it. Okay, so introduction of the committee and board members. I'm the one with the biggest mouth sometimes, so I'll go ahead and say Janet Providakis. I've been in town since 1995. As I was introducing myself to another board last week, I started working and helping out over at St. Mary's Church. That led me to meet individuals who got me involved with Ayer Housing Authority. With Ayer Housing Authority, I got put onto the CPC, which is the Community Preservation Committee. And with that, because of working with housing and the CPC, I was introduced to Alicia and working on housing. So I was part of the master plan group for the housing. And then we continued on with the housing committee and such, and now you guys are stuck with me. So that's pretty much my background. I am a 911 dispatcher over at the town, and I work the midnight shift. So that's why I talk so fast sometimes. Moving to my left.
Hi, I'm Cindy Lavin, and I've lived in town for almost 37 years, which still doesn't make me a native. I'm on the library board. I worked at the library for quite a number of years. And right now I run Stone Soup Kitchen, food pantry, and meals program, and I'm a local troublemaker, I guess. So.
We need those.
Good evening, my name is Jake Driscoll. I've lived in town for most of my life. I'm currently on the call department here for the fire department in town, and most of my time has been spent going through the fire academy in Stowe. I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Colleen Kreeser. I have lived in town for 4 years, but my husband's family has been here for a lot longer, and so very familiar with the town even before we moved here. I serve on the Community Preservation Committee, and I'm a faculty member at Pine Manor College in Chestnut Hill.
I'm Sean Copeland. I'm currently the chair of the Ayer Select Board. I've been in Ayer, lived in Ayer for almost 2 years. Prior to that, I was in Shirley for a couple years, but I did grow up on Fort Devens, so quite familiar with Ayer. I went through the Ayer school system, graduated from Ayer High School. Currently, I work as a social worker, which was my interest in this board, is the social work aspect of it. I work for the Department of Children and Families as an ongoing worker at the Leominster office.
My name is Jeff Tillotson. I will be almost 8 years, Thanksgiving, I think. Here living in Ayer. My wife and I chose to move here after I spent a lot of time visiting folks on Sandy Pond and discovered that, my family was 50 years in a town closer to Boston, and this is a much nicer place to live. Currently serving as a member and chair of the planning board here in town. My interest in housing stems from that. How can the different boards, the different efforts that are taking place in town work in a fashion that supports Ayer becoming maintaining its wonderful place to live stature.
My name is Ken Diskin. I'm a member of the planning board in town, vice chair, serve with Jeff on the planning board. I've lived in town since 2002. I guess it's about, 18, 19 years. In the first, 15 of those years, I was strictly a commuter. I came home, went to work, came home, went to work. And since I retired 6 years ago, I've taken more of an interest in being involved in the town. And I joined the Affordable Housing Committee because I would like to have a vision, I guess, like the rest of us at the table, that we could make a difference and try to find a way to get some affordable housing in town. I think that's a great goal. Not sure how we're going to get there. The planning board gives us an ability to see projects that are coming and to work together to try to make better projects that are available to the town and encourage developers to do the right thing through our rules and regulations. But the long and short of it is, I'm glad to be here. It's a pleasure sitting at the table with folks like yourself, and hope we can all chip in and get something done.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jennifer Pale, and I have been in Ayer probably about 9 years, but I've school choiced my kids since preschool, and my oldest is 16, and I have a 13-year-old as well. I am currently a case manager, and I work with homeless families that are currently in Massachusetts EA emergency shelter system. And I work with the families on efforts towards rehousing, making sure they have a safe, stable place, giving case management, and help identifying affordable housing and getting them kind of to, the next step. And the reason why I was interested in working along with the rest of you with affordable housing and stuff like that is because I think that there's a whole nother vulnerable population that kind of has needs that are going unmet. For many households, whether it's a single parent household or a two-family household, they're only one paycheck away from a crisis. Mm-hmm. And I think that, through collaboration and working together with everybody, we can really educate, the community on, the different types of affordable housing that are out there and, really meet the needs of a population who, could really benefit and use it.
True.
Me?
We can do it for you, Ron.
Buy a house. No.
True. Well, that's it. I'm Ron Morrison. I'm part owner with my partner, Pat Bagney Latimer. Some of you may know her at the real estate company down the street here at MA Real Estate Center. We started that company in 1998 under a different name of ERA Morrison. And we shuffled off and turned into Remax, and we decided to grow up and become an independent and drop all the franchise fees. We spend most of our day, which is fun, promoting the town with anybody who will listen to us. And as the only real estate company in Ayer, fortunately for everybody, we are very, very positive about the town. And it's a great place to live, which I live here, and a good place to work. And we sit right in the middle of the center, so you can't get away with anything. We see you.
Can't walk by without saying
If you
hi.
want to know what's happening, just call, we'll tell you.
Alicia Hersey, and I work in the Community and Economic Development Department in the town of Ayer. I started out a good 9 years ago, and was working only 15 hours a week and mostly doing community development grants, rehab programs and things like that. And now I'm full-time, and when we did the master plan, we really took a deep dive into housing. And so we came up with a number of goals, and we've done a great job of meeting a lot of those goals, and these two committees are part of those goals and where we're going with housing. And we're kind of growing with the state. The state is really growing with a very different view on housing and what we need to do on housing. And I think that, you know, we're just keeping up with everything. And I think it's wonderful to have everybody here. And it's great to have the support and the vision from the community. And every time I've gone out to the community, or Alan and I have gone out to the community, and the first thing that people said at the master plan, they just said, we want Ayer to stay the same. We love the diversity. We love the ethnic and economic diversity, and we want to make sure that happens. And so that became one of the statement, the mission statement of the master plan. And so this is kind of growing out of all that, and it's great to be here with everybody.
No, it's true. One good thing is we do have a nice diverse group here. So with that, we're going to be looking upon everybody for, you know, their expertise within their one little section. I used to always get upset with my ex-husband, who would go ahead and tell me everybody's ignorant on something, everybody's smart on something. So there's going to be things that I'm not going to have an answer for. There's going to be things that I'm going to be looking to everybody, you know, for saying, okay, great, this is what's happening in this neck of the woods. This is what, you know, is happening here. One good thing is we do have Alicia. Okay, I do have to put in a, you know, a kudos for it, because there are so many committees here in town that doesn't have somebody here in town hall to go ahead and do all this type of paperwork and everything. So thank you, we do appreciate that. And then moving as well, I commuted to Cambridge every day for 22 years from here. And with that, I didn't tell people about Ayer, because I wanted this to be my little secret, because it was a great place to live. And then all of a sudden people started coming from Arlington and places like that. It's like, okay, the word is out.
Don't look at me. He was born in He was actually born in Arlington.
That's true. It's like
I'm just an Arlington visitor.
Oh,
Pretty regularly.
Okay.
It's a
So,
surprising number of people know.
This is surprising to people from our local neighborhoods out here. Yes, there are.
well, one good thing about this group here is everybody that we're still trying to find our way. We've got the Affordable Housing Committee that, you know, started with the master plan. We wanted to know that we wanted to build the housing trust so that we could have funds specifically for housing issues, either rental assistance or working on development, working to rehab a house, you know, something like that, so that we can move forward. And with that, it's now that next branch. So these types of joint meetings are going to be good, but you all are going to end up separating and, you know, getting your own chair, getting your vice chair and such, somebody, you know, a clerk to do the minutes, because it all has to be open meeting. So when you have your next meeting, and again, it's not like, you know, I'm gonna set you off and, you know, just go, or we're not just gonna go ahead and do that. It's more of, we'll be working together, but then also you'll have your own independence, you know, your own entity itself. So I think this is going to be good, because when we get together, this is our educational series that we can go ahead and do. And you're right, we need to educate the town, because, you know, when I'm starting to talk to people about affordable housing, you know, you've got to make sure that this is housing that's affordable. Don't think about it as being, you know, oh, gee whiz, it's going to be like the projects in Boston, projects in, you know, Springfield. I mean, these are things that have happened in the past, but as some of us have been at, you know, some of the other seminars that we've gone to, no, it's now more of trying to find, you know, housing units that are, you know, a community, to be able to go ahead and be part of the community. Find developers that want to continue that community-oriented, you know, building and working with the community. So I think that works out really good. So in doing so with that, like I say, I don't want to keep everybody, you know, because I can go on and on. Everybody's got a new binder. You guys got your Air Affordable Housing Trust binder, and we have our binders. I know. As you can tell. I add some stuff, but then I got everything else in folders. Right now, what we have inside the binders for you all is just definitions, but we will be adding more stuff. Like, again, one of the items on the agenda is, you know, we always get some sort of update from Ron of what's going on in town for housing and such. And with that, this is good, but like, we'll be giving you the master plan information about housing. We're trying to get, like say, copies, and so they're colored, so that they look a little good. But all this stuff nevertheless is online. The housing production plan is now online in Boston. Alicia's getting a formal copy done for us so that we'll have that to be able to be placed inside here. Instead of just copying it so it's black and white, you know, whatever, it's always good to see color maps so that you know really what you're looking at and such. So put, you know, like I say, stuff inside here. I have a file cabinet that has all, you know, my stuff. Trying to think on the definitions that we do have in here. You guys have two sets of definitions. One is just a nice little synopsis, and for the housing committee members,
I don't even know. Is this for the committee or?
this is for the committee, because you already have it.
Okay,
All right,
so it's just you guys.
correct, and you,
Oh,
and me, all right? And
Because those are new ones, that's.
these are new.
These are new.
Uh-huh, yeah, because again, going to all these seminars and everything, it's like, oh, this is pretty interesting, because a lot of them of, you know, the mass rental voucher programs, you know, when they give you those abbreviations and everything, it's like, okay, what's a 501c3? You know, so those are always, like I said, good to have, because believe me, you're gonna see a lot of buzzwords, right? And then, I believe, I'm gonna have you guys take one of these. This is what was handed out at the fall town meeting to give you an idea, you know, with regards to the housing trust. Do I have, you know?
Yeah, I think we're good.
We good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Put the extras in the middle.
Yeah, we just put it in there. And this was developed by, like I say, we had all the different texts and everything, and Sarah Withy, you know, went ahead and developed this for us. So with that, it was good because, again, a lot of people within town want to see the diversity continue. They want to see, you know, again, housing available. It's more of the education of how that's going to be able to happen and what type of housing can happen. So I wanted to make sure everybody had that. Anything else you want to bring up on the folder, the binder?
No, one of the things that the Affordable Housing Trust will get together and they'll start deciding what their rules and their protocol are. They'll get their board together as far as chair and everything like that. So before the evening's out, we should probably talk about schedules and what people think is good.
Yeah.
We meet every third Friday of the month. In the daytime, so we are thinking about, because Janet's got to go to bed at some point. So we meet at usually between 10 and 11 on Fridays, the third Fridays. And I want the trust to think about whether they want to come to some of the committee meetings for a while, or whether they want to set up the trust and start setting up and setting, you know, I'm blanking on, it's not guidelines or bylaws, or we've got the.
Policies, procedures.
Policies and procedures, and voting in the chair, and that sort of thing. So, and we should take a moment and talk about what people think, or maybe you just want to come to the next Affordable Housing Committee meeting, and if you prefer evenings, we'll do evenings for a while. So we'll talk about that, or just do people want to throw that out and do that right now? We can do it at the end if,
Yeah, when we
yeah.
do it, the setup.
Okay.
calendar again.
That's good.
Okay, I think that would work out well. All right, so again, you've got your binder, you're gonna be filling stuff up with it, especially as you're going through some of the education seminars, and we'll get you some of the other documents that, again, are online and to make sure everybody has access to the site. Now I'm gonna move on, because I'm going to ask Ron, give us the scoop of what's going on in Ayer.
I have a handout. I didn't know how many people were gonna be here, so I have
I should've-
10,000 handouts.
That doesn't quite look like 10,000.
It's close.
Did I count right? Did I say 14? I don't know. We have
Oh, I
14.
got two.
Yeah.
This conversation.
I just want to see what the numbers are.
I did it a little bit differently this time, in that you wanted a 5-minute presentation. Absolutely impossible. So I gave you 3 hours worth of reading. My 5 minutes are up.
No, it's not.
I just,
I wish my exercises went that way. Oh, go ahead.
I just threw a few facts together that you may or may not know, some interesting, at least to, a real estate person, they're interesting. I can't imagine who else would be interested in them, but if you look at the state of Massachusetts, it's no big surprise that Boston has the highest average rentals in the state at over 3,400. And Holyoke would be the place to go, I guess, at $985 for an average. No, doesn't Holyoke have a sister city or something?
Yeah, I think it's over in Sweden. It's in Europe somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, Gardner, Fitchburg, and Leominster are on the list of top 10 most affordable communities in Massachusetts, which I found surprising, quite frankly. But they're on there, they're on the top 10. I did a count of how many buildings we have, not units, not rental units, but buildings. Some of these buildings have 20 units in them, others have 2, that type of thing. We have 357 in the town, rental buildings. And of those, 198 people who own them do not live in them. So that's a rather high percentage when you think about what some of the other towns look like. I think it's something like 55% or so. Of those buildings, 209 are 2-family dwellings, 45 are 3-family, 65 are 4 to 8 families in size, and only 8 or 9 units or bigger. And then there's 30 different lots in the town that have multiple buildings. So there might be 2 houses on it where each unit's rented just 1 and 1. Various places like that. There are 30 of those. So the whole thing comes to 357. It was real interesting that not much has happened in Ayer as far as a rental inventory being added or built. I should say built. I'm sure there's been some added that are rehabs. But as far as new buildings, since 2000, there's only been 3 buildings added, which is almost nothing, really. And the vast majority, as you can see, there are even 3 buildings out there that were built in the 1700s that are part of the renting inventory. And you can see the numbers there. 169 were built between 1900 and 1950. And of those, 45% of those buildings were built in the 1940s. And the vast majority of those are down at Devon's Crest, which was just recently sold by Mr. Tachi. And he sold something in the order of, I think it was 88 units total, if you don't believe the Registry of Deeds. And it was bought by two New Hampshire-based LLCs for $11,600,000, which comes out to about $131,000 and change per unit, which is not a bad deal, really. Rents down there in that neighborhood for those buildings run as high as $1,400 a month, and as low as $800 in some cases.
He's purchasing cash.
And they usually full.
He's purchasing future cash.
Looking at the tax bills for a rental building in town, the average is just over $6,000. And for the first quarter of 2021, the average air rent increased by 39% over the previous year's similar time period. That's a rather large jump.
Yeah.
We still are relatively at the bottom of the list, however, as far as the cost of the rentals in town vis-a-vis the other towns that surround us. Westford, for instance, the current inventory in Westford, the average rental per month is $3,900.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
First quarter 2020, the average rate of rent increased by 39% over the same period in 2020. Every single rental unit in town went up 40%?
No,
Yeah,
overall, the overall
Average.
increase in value
Is it the ones
of
that
the
have turned
cost,
over?
the aggregate cost.
I guess I don't understand the
You
aggregate.
add up all the rentals,
Yeah.
costs,
The monthly rent being paid in.
right, and then you compare this past quarter to the previous year.
Same number?
There was 39% more money. I don't know if it was all collected, but there was 39% higher rents.
Of the rents that turned over?
No,
Wrong.
of
the
the,
ones available.
of the available
Of the
rentals.
available
Right.
rentals.
So if you had, as
And
an
that-
example, if
yeah.
if you had 10 units last year to rent, and they rented for $1,000 apiece during that quarter, on average, maybe some were 8, some were 12.
Right.
And this year, the same 10 units came up again.
It's
Now they're gonna average for
39% above.
$1,390
Right.
apiece.
Right, basically,
On average.
yeah, that's it.
Okay, so it's a snapshot
Yeah,
of what
it's
was
just
available.
an overall snapshot.
And it does include also new rental units being brought to the market. So if a person buys a two-family and flips it and puts it out on the market for rent as being an improved building,
It would include anything that was rented.
yeah, okay. Thanks.
And when you look at the average cost per square foot per month, it's at $1.82 per square foot is what people are paying on average to rent in Ayer. So you just, add up the square footage, multiply by 1.82, and you get what the rent is. Now, that's the highest level that we've had for the last 5 years, which is as far back as I went. I didn't go back any further than that. So, just a few interesting, as you can see, the average monthly of number 10, the average monthly rent in Ayer jumped 15 to 1522 on average. Now, there are some that have rented as high as 2,900. We had a single family on Coolidge Avenue that Coolidge up off of Washington that we rented for 2,900. That was the highest one.
So this average is based upon what size unit?
All sizes. It's strictly an average.
Studio up.
Strictly an average. And that represents a 4%, only a 4% jump.
I don't understand the correlation between number 8 and number 10. The first quarter, they went up 39%
Right.
over the year. but-
The overall aggregate rentals.
But in number 10, 4%.
Well, that's the second quarter.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, the second quarter went up 4%.
okay.
The first quarter went up 39%. So basically, it's flattening out as far as increases.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's why I I wondered if you had
It's
put
still
the
higher,
wrong
but
number.
it's not as high a
Okay.
percentage jump,
All right. So we're flattening back out, is what you're saying.
at least for now.
Okay.
One
Can you
never
get a
knows.
sense why?
Well, the profile of somebody coming into here, which we have in the office, I was gonna bring that to you. It's real interesting. We have a breakdown as to the percentages of the personalities of people that come to here and their financial ability and all that kind of thing, which is very good for targeting, marketing, and that type. And, it's just that the people that are coming to the town, they can't afford to pay a whole lot more. They're not going to well, they may be going to Westford first, hitting the $39,00 number, and saying, oh gee, I don't know, it's kind of expensive here, isn't it? And, you know, they're moving a few miles this way, and they're finding that it's more affordable within their range. Shirley and Ayer are pretty close, so that when we say Ayer, it's almost always Shirley with it, quite frankly. The average 3-bedroom rental rate at the moment is running about $774 per bedroom, which is a way that most people, except real estate agents, don't look at. How many bedrooms do you want? Well, I'd like 3. Well, that'll be $774 per each bedroom.
Yeah.
And it won't matter what size the bedroom is. You know, it'll be $774.
Ron, as part of that demographic the snapshot that you have, do you know for people renting an Ayer on average what people are spending, what portion of their salary they're spending on rent?
About 42%. At the moment, it's about 42%. Used to be 25%.
Right, which is more in
Now
line with
the
what it should be.
National Association of Realtors their guidelines are now 50%. So half of someone's income, it's okay to qualify them.
Oh, to qualify them, yeah.
Yeah.
But thinking
But
from
there are
that,
people
you
doing
shouldn't
it.
be paying that, yeah.
There are people doing it. The only thing holding back, well, there's a few things, but one of the things that keeps that number where it is that most people, most landlords don't want to rent to 2 or 3 mixed adults, if
Yeah.
you will. If they would do that, that number would change, you know, but people just generally won't do that. Another interesting sidelight, 95% of all of the rentals in town now no longer accept pets. So all
Wow,
the,
95?
yeah, the Old Town, is it Old Town, I think it is, or right down here at the
Yep.
Rotary? They're one of the few places that still accepts pets, and so therefore there are more dogs there than humans sometimes, we think. We were thinking actually of setting up a new website that says apartments for dogs that accept humans. Maybe it's a little kind of catchy. The next sheet down is
Could I
an
ask one
Excel.
more question on that first?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Which one?
Number 4, you're talking about the absentee landlords. Do you
Yes.
have any sense how many of those absentees, I know they don't live in that building, but do they
84 of
live-
them live in Ayer.
Okay,
I do have those, I just didn't bring them.
okay.
I was gonna put that on there, but
That's.
this is only a 5-minute presentation. At least that's what I was told. My watch is broken. Never asked me to present something.
You gotta be kidding. This is how we find out all this information.
The next sheet is the Excel spreadsheet, and the red are the averages. The 1-bedrooms are, and these are all of the, this is information from multiple listings. So this is not 100% of the information.
It's not gonna be there.
But it's about 80% of it. If it were sales, it would be about 95% of it. But rentals, there's still quite a few landlords that rent their own places. There are still some larger buildings that use their own staff, and they don't put it in multiple listing. But it does, you know, it does give you a pretty good idea of the ballpark. So a 1-bedroom is running about 1,093, just under 1,100. And as you flip through this, you can see that the 2-bedrooms are 1,507, the 3-bedrooms are 2,233, and the 4-bedrooms are 2,550. And the interesting thing, it's like square footage when you build a house. As you go, as the house gets bigger or the apartment gets bigger, the cost per bedroom goes down. That's normal. That's the way those numbers always work. Took me about 8 years to figure that one out. The next chart is just a comparison of the for sale prices. These are the top chart, top section are the for sale averages. So Boxborough tops things out. The average sale in Boxborough is now 1.1 million. That's an average 4-bedroom house, 2,800 square feet, 2.5 baths. The typical house that in Ayer would cost somewhere around $650 is 1.1 million in Boxborough. As you look at the numbers, Acton has gone a little bit crazy. They're now at 982. Acton Boxborough is a school system that works together, very popular region. Of course, people have to, earn quite an income in order to pay for those types of housing. Chelmsford, next to Lowell, is now getting up there at 768. Fitchburg, which used to be about 125,000 4 or 5 years ago, is now 335. 335 was kind of like a relatively expensive single family 5 years ago. It's now at the bottom of the rung. And Westford, surprisingly, Westford's cooled off. Westford's down. They're down to 721. Not sure what's going on there, but it's now 721. It actually was higher last year. Then you have the average rent down below that. And these are available inventory. Okay, the average of what is for sale, not what is sold.
Did you see the market growing?
So,
The market growing,
Cool.
cool. Well, I don't know. Like right now on the rental market in Ayer, if you walk into the office and said, I need a rental, in the whole town, there's one rental available on the market. That's it. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't some landlord someplace renting their own place, but I will guarantee you there's less than 10 in the whole town. Because again, the multiple listing service usually represents about 80% of the rentals in any given town. So obviously, 10 would be a high number if there's actually 9 landlords out there. So that's one thing that keeps prices up. If there's one loaf of bread in the store and somebody comes in looking for wheat bread and all there is white bread, you either buy the white bread or you don't eat it, right? So that's the situation. There's the rental. Would you like it? It's $1,200. It's at 48 Washington Street. It's a rehabbed house. It was not such a nice house. Fortunately, Kevin Baker rehabbed it, and it's certainly better than it used to be. And he's getting $1,200 for a 1-bedroom unit, 3 rooms, 1 bedroom, 600 square feet. And that's it. There's nothing else there. The last 2 handouts, these 2 here. One is if you look at the top, you'll see the difference. One is rental. It says residential rentals at the top. And the other one is single families, condominiums, and multifamily sales. And it goes back 5 years. At the back of each sheet are the first 2 quarters of this year. So it's complete 5 years plus 2 quarters of this year. Okay. And you can follow the rental increases very easily. You can follow the square footage costs, how many listings were taken. Again, these aren't just our office numbers. These are 2,000 agents working in the multiple listing service. Now, obviously, all 2,000 don't work in Ayer, but the ones that do, this would include anything that they, not only did we list, but so did they. And it's pretty steady. It's really not cool. If you look at the first sheet on the rental section, it shows third section down, or second section down. It says listing units taken. In 2016, there were 55. Then the next year went to 53. The next year it was 53. The next year was 51. The next year was 60. So there's really not a lot of jumping around, pretty consistent. So the rentals are consistently on the market, and they don't go up and down very much. There's just not a lot of stuff being added that hasn't been there for a number of years. And so if you go through this, you'll see the increases. Then if you flip to the second handout, which are the prices of the houses, you'll see that there's been some dramatic increases in the prices of houses. If you go back towards the bottom there, second up from the bottom, that section that says sold year to date. You've got closed units, and you can see across the top. But then down a little bit are the sales prices: 329, 340, 362, 387, and then all of a sudden 444. If you flip to the back of that chart and just look at the last couple of quarters, particularly quarter one, the increase went from 403 to 505. It's a $100,000 increase in 1 year.
And that's representative of the average listing price of the unit? And so those are new units on the market and existing markets that are that are offered for resale?
These again include new and resale.
So new construction.
So
So
if you had-
if 15 units in Pingree sell, it has an opportunity,
It's
it
in
would
here.
put upward pressure on that number
It
as
would.
opposed to just 15.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure
Yes.
that we're
Yeah.
apples and apples here. Thanks.
But here's the important point, at least from a real estate agent's position. That price increase, whether it's new construction or not, represents a totally new kind of person coming into the town, wanting totally different services, totally different kinds of schools, perhaps, totally different everything. And that's where a lot of the people who live in whatever town we talk about, who've lived there for years, they say, oh, gee, it's changing. Yeah, it's changing. It's changing everywhere. If you want the air of yesteryear, go beyond Fitchburg. It's out there. It's there.
Athol.
Athol, yeah, if you want,
Yeah,
even
Peter
starts with an A,
Shane's
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, those places are still there, it's just that they're not here. And we're, I've been doing this for 33 years, and we had a company that covered New England. It was the largest ERA in New England, our company. And we saw, the whole gamut for 20 years. Everything is moving constantly west. Prices, people, everything. But air's out there. The old air's out there. It's just that you have to go west down Route 2 and find it. But it's just not going to be here anymore.
Yeah, that's what we're calling.
I understand, and so do we, because we promote the town. There really is no other real estate company promoting the town, quite frankly, because there's nobody else here. The Westford broker doesn't say, oh, by the way, when you come into my Westford office, let me sell you Ayer, it's a great town. They don't say that. They say, let me take you to Ayer because you can't afford us, we're too good for you. So let's take you to Ayer. All right?
I've been there.
We don't do that. We say, this is a great place to live, it doesn't matter where you came from. We always joke around. I grew up in Cambridge. This is Cambridge without the sophistication, if you will, but it's Cambridge. The people think like where I grew up in Cambridge, that's the way the people in Ayer think. I don't know how much
Well,
longer.
Cambridge had rent control for many, many years.
They did have rent control.
And so they had a diverse community.
They did.
And that's where that comes from.
Yeah, and they also had something called Harvard.
That's
Quite a
true.
bit. MIT wasn't bad either.
That's true, we did. We have Harvard.
I went to Cambridge in Latin, right? And I would tell people that, and they would say, oh, you went to private school? Oh, yeah, I went to private school.
You didn't call it Ringen Latin, did you, Ron?
No, Ringen Latin it's a joke. It's not Cambridge High Latin.
Yeah.
So you got the
That's
last
okay.
one, section 8.
Well, I just put that in for
Yeah.
information.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
And that income level lags behind.
And let me make one point about Section 8, which I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody at this table knows. But it seems like landlords and the public don't know. It's against the law to not take somebody because of Section 8. Okay? And I get even other realtors, when I call on a co-broke rental, and they say, well, we don't take Section 8. Oh, really?
Really?
What's your license number?
That's right.
When somebody tells me that, I say, just get their license number, call the state, and they'll get a visit.
But I hate to say the beauty of Section 8, but you get the check on the first of the month.
Yeah, you do.
I worked with people who invested in multi-unit in Cambridge, all over Cambridge,
Yeah.
Brighton and other areas, and a certain portion of it is set aside,
Absolutely.
and it covers the nut on the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah. One of the other issues is that the people who utilize Section 8, who are using Section 8, first of all, the waiting list is ridiculous. I mean, nobody in this lifetime is ever going to get on the list, I don't think, or at least to the top of the list.
About 14 years.
It's crazy. So that's because you get people that constantly use the system and don't get out of the system. And so there's no place for the next person to move up. There is no moving up. It's like I've made it, my rent is paid, and I've got to keep it. But
Was
the
it
people that
designed to be a-
utilize it,
Was it designed to be a temporary program? I don't know.
I don't think it was designed to
Was it
be a
designed to be a
temporary program. I don't
temporary help?
believe.
No?
I
They
don't
don't set
believe-
incentives, and so one of the problems that they have, if you look at, say, the.
Moving around to
Housing
affordable.
authority.
Go ahead.
The housing authority is that they don't set incentives to save and move forward.
Right.
And it's the way they've written the formulas. And unfortunately, they need to go back and rewrite all those formulas, because you actually, if you start making a little bit more money, they raise your rent because your rent is done on a formula.
Mhm.
And they don't have any way to give you incentives to move forward.
Right.
And give you that also, that, safety net as you move forward. And that's in all our public, and we've got so many people who work in public health and public, service and social work and things like that here, that you guys all know this, that's the way the formulas are written, and it's really too bad. But
And
Well, there's also, if you spend 7 years waiting to get something,
Right.
and in the 7 years you've experienced homelessness, you've experienced housing instability,
Right.
you have gone through a lot of stuff. You need a lot of incentive to give up that program.
yes.
And people will do whatever they can to maintain it.
One of the confusing things for people that are utilizing the money from Section 8 is they will many of them consistently will, when we answer the phone, will say, we have Section 8, you have to take us. Well, I already know that, but I only have to, I can't not take someone based on Section 8. But I can not take them based on a 410 credit score, even if they're getting Section 8.
Yeah.
And that's where the people that are using Section 8, and they deserve it, don't misunderstand me, that's where they don't understand the system. And we reject many Section 8 people, but not Section 8. It's rejection, the average credit score of people coming into Ayer is about 550. Okay? It's not 700. And so our landlords, we've had to educate them to lower their sights as far as what they're going to accept. They own other buildings in Brookline where everybody, is
700 plus,
yeah, making, well, not just that, but
They're
making a lot of
dual-
money.
right, they're dual income
And they buy
families.
something out in Ayer or Shirley, and they don't get it, But they do eventually. But it's interesting, there's confusion on both sides, the people using the system and the people outside of the system who don't understand the system. But, okay, that's my 5-minute.
I would say also too, for a lot of these folks who use multiple different public programs or
Yes.
assistance programs, the rules for different programs don't work cohesively
Right.
with you know, the rules for other programs. So, you know, say you do have somebody who's utilizing a Section 8 voucher and that housing authority is one of the good ones that does like the family self-sufficiency program, where if their income is increasing, instead of charging them that money for rent as a rent increase, that money is going aside. And as they hit goals and milestones, once they have, you know, gotten them all, that money's returned to them. You know, and some folks are able to use that as a down payment to purchase a home or, you know, something like that. Not all of them do, but say you were working towards doing that, but somebody's on Social Security. Okay, so you have a maximum, you know, kind of asset level that you can have of $2,000. So if you start to go over that, then you're going to end up losing your stable monthly income. You know, so I think a lot of it you know, plays in with the different service providers that are working with the families as well. And then again, with education of what types of programs are there. Some folks don't know that there are housing authorities that do write Section 8 vouchers where they can kind of turn it from using it for rental assistance. Few and far in between are then able to roll that Section 8 voucher over and use it as mortgage assistance.
Right.
And there's not a lot of people that, you know that.
Right.
And one thing that I was sharing with Jake before the meeting had started, what's good about affordable housing is it's kind of that next step. So for me, like where I'm working with the extremely low income folks, they think that is it, getting a Section 8 voucher. But this is kind of, you know, a light at the end of the tunnel to show them there is something more after that. You know, you can work towards another type of affordable housing or, you know, talking to them about different type of USDA loans and stuff like that to, you know, maybe they are moving out to the AFLs or something like that, but kind of, you know, really making it attractive to kind of work towards financial stability and things like that. So I think it's, you know, kind of a combination
It's
of.
an overall
Yeah.
thing. It
'Cause
isn't just one issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because it's nice because, again, you get these individuals who are trying to better themselves, they hit that income bracket, and all of a sudden now, I'm sorry, you're gonna be evicted because you no longer can live in this, you know, in this place. So it would be nice if there are those types of programs that say, okay, great, let's take this, put it to the side so you can put that as your down payment, that maybe you don't have PMI and everything. And then I know the state has come up with programs like One Mortgage to be able to help them, you know, get that mortgage and work with whatever credit, you know, lending facility so that they're able to get someplace. And now all of a sudden they can get out of that, you know, apartment and now own a house. So it's like, oh, well, we're moving right along. That is a good leeway into big A and little A. How many people have heard that terminology for affordable? Open up your eyes, didn't it? So, okay. So I've got Alicia, and she's got the presentation. She's got 5 minutes.
25 seconds.
I only have 5 minutes.
So anyway, actually, what's interesting when Ron gives his presentation, it's very much, it's in some ways a micro. It's for the town of Ayer,
Right.
and that's a great thing. And so often our state town, my office is really tied into what's happening macro in the state. And so, and some of the things that Ron talked about is going to go into here. Now, when we had the master plan, here are some of the, I wonder if I can roll this.
I'm seeing it over here.
I know. No, I can't get the last. So these were some of our goals, and we've actually met many of them. The Ayer Affordable Housing Committee, we've been together for 2.5 years, almost 3, yeah. And then the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust was created this spring. We have, we're trying to reach our 10% goal. We were very close to our 10% goal in subsidized housing inventory, which is the SHI list, and you're gonna see that on some of your definitions and things like that. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but we've been losing units because at one point our rehab units were able to count on the SHI list, and there were 15-year loans on those rehab units, and they are no longer able to count, so we've lost a lot of those. We're down in the 7% range. If we create housing, the interesting thing that Ron was talking about is that you see that not much housing has been created, especially affordable housing. And so that's the goals of both of these committees, is really encouraging that affordable housing, encouraging that diverse income group, because that's how you keep your community diverse and not gentrified and all that sort of thing. So we chose a form-based code zoning district over a 40R smart growth zoning district, and at some point we can talk about what the smart growth is. Alan wasn't, he's on the, we should have probably adjusted the agenda because Alan's not here, he had something come up. But he will come and talk to us about how that works, how form-based code works with housing too, and how you can use it in your traditional neighborhoods. And so with the downtown form-based code, that is not only commercial businesses on the ground level, that actually includes housing on the upper floors, and we put in our inclusionary housing bylaw, and that creates one affordable unit for every 5 standard units.
I can't remember, is it 4 or 5?
I think it's 5.
I think it's 5 here.
Yeah.
20%.
And so, and then we've done the subdivision bylaws. You guys have been working a lot on that too.
They're done.
So,
They're done.
yep. So all these things have been done, and so we can keep working forward. Now,
Question?
yes,
You said that, Ayer chose the form-based code, and I remember that.
Yes.
From the town meeting. Is that, it's one or the other, it's either chapter
Yes.
40R or the other? And-
in a particular district.
Oh, in a district, okay,
Yeah.
so a town can have,
Yes, we can still have 40R.
gotcha,
Yes.
gotcha,
Yes.
okay.
If we choose to do it. 40R, we won't go into it.
Thank you.
I'll read about it.
Okay.
40 versus 40.
We'll be doing an additional delineation.
So, if you guys,
At least I'm going to find out from a railroad station.
if people come away with nothing else, this is a big step in understanding what we're doing. So you say, there's a lot of units up there that still are renting for, there's landlords up there that are still renting units for $700. Why are they not counted as affordable in the town? Ayer definitely has more than 10% affordable units in the town. But when we talk about affordable that
Right, the train.
counts for our subsidized housing inventory, our SHI list,
Big A.
that's the big A. That means that it has a restriction on the deed or it is subsidized, okay? And that we can count, and the state gives us special, when we hit 10%, it gets us out of the comprehensive permit, but that's not even big. I was always told that there was other things that the state gave us for SHI list, for having a 10%. It is going to balance your community more than anything. So your little A is all the landlords that are doing the right things, renting for less money and things like that. So there is a lot of affordable housing. Or it's the housing that was built as workforce housing in a mill town and still goes for the 300,000 or the 200,000, which we have so little of that right now. But so yes, we have more than 10% housing that is affordable, but it
The
doesn't
state
all
can-
count on that. Yeah. So that's the big A and little a. Okay.
Oops, I'm sorry.
So this is what the governor wants. The governor wants 500,000 homes built in 30 years. Okay? This is where he wants it. And as we go on slides, I'm going to show you why he wants this, because we have not been building. You said that since 2000, there's been almost nothing. And so these are really short slides, but the governor's goal, and he's gotten the zoning laws changed in the state.
It's tiny changes.
I know, they're not as good
It
as they
moves
should be.
slowly sometimes.
But the town of Ayer has been been very
We've
progressive.
done more here, way more than the governor could have dreamed of.
Yes,
In this town.
because we're still a progressive town that thinks that this is what they want. And we vote unanimously many times on this sort of thing. So the governor's looking for 500,000 housing units to be built. Now, this is the macro. So in the 1960s, they were just, it's about 28,000 units were built. 70s, 80s, and this is the 90s, this is the 2010. So we're losing units, and our population is growing.
These are just these are big A and little a units being built.
No, these are everything.
Everything.
Total units being built in the state.
That's all.
In the state.
Doesn't seem like much. You drive around, you see a lot more than that.
That's because we're doing the right thing out here. They're not building anything.
But you go into.
It's rehab, yeah.
There's towns, that's what the zoning, all of a sudden, 1990s, they decided, we like our towns just the way they are. No, we don't want a 4-story building. No, we don't want, we just like our little New England towns. And they just shut the door and said, we're done. And it's really affecting the market prices. And it's really affecting, if you look at the people coming out of all those Ivy League schools, all the schools in the state, a lot of them are leaving the state because they can't afford housing. And so, in the last 6 years, he's got a goal of 17,000 units. 17,000 units, we hit 30,000 in the 1970s. 17,000 units a year, and we haven't hit that goal 5 of the 6 years. So, that's why, if you want to do anything with the state right now, they're all about housing. They have to get these units built. It will change the market. It will change the prices on houses.
Sure.
It just by increasing the supply and demand.
Well, that goes back to what Brown was saying, the loaf of bread.
Yeah, and so in Massachusetts, we're one of the lowest in the country of building houses. And that affects our job growth. People are leaving the state because they can't afford it. And you guys all know this. I don't have to say this to you. There's all sorts of jobs, just like there's all sorts of housing. And we need all of them. We need the service industry. We need all of it. It's what makes our communities better. It's what makes our lives better. We appreciate all that. And it's better if you all live together, too, if you have places for everybody in your town. I'm almost done. So this is what, somebody was asking about the percentage of how much you spend on your rent. So if you make less than $20,000 on your housing, you end up spending 85% of that on your housing costs. And this is an old chart. This is probably a year or two old. So if you make $20,000 to $34,000, if you're a family, that's a family of one. I mean, when you start adding in, it just goes right up. So the people who really, really get hurt, we all get hurt when there's not enough housing stock, but the people who really suffer are the poor. And we're part of Cambridge, Boston,
This is
Cambridge.
This is real important.
It's
Real important what you're gonna, for
Yeah.
the new people.
So
We're part of Middlesex County, which encompasses a very large geographic area, including
Cambridge,
Belmont.
yeah.
Very well.
Belmont's, Middlesex, Watertown's, there are a lot of communities that you wouldn't think we match up with, so that's, they'll say Cambridge and Quincy on here, but it's,
And I update these every
West.
year. And this one I put in the extremely low, usually, so most of the programs I say low, moderate income. So one person,
yeah.
you are still considered moderate income, workforce income at 70,000 in this district.
This is under the big A.
This is-
Clarify this.
That's right, this is under the big A.
This is under the big A.
Right.
So this is how we qualify people for the big A. So, and
That's
it's,
80%.
what's that?
I'm sorry, is that the 80% of the median income
Yeah.
number? Yeah, okay.
The low
Yes.
income is 50.
Yep.
And extremely low is 30.
Mhm.
And so, for example, I'm gonna kind of detour a little bit, because as we go along, in the next couple of months, hopefully we'll be talking about this. There, you know, we do have a 40B that's looking at a big parcel in town. And they're a nonprofit 40B, which is kind of a unique one. A lot of times they do, you know, they're more for-profit and they do sale of condos, and they just put in so many sale, which only services moderate income, because they're the only people who can afford those units, those condo units. It's a rental project that is looking and working and has submitted an application to the state for approval. And they are interested in building low 30%, 50%, and 80% units, which would really change everything in this town, to have an influx of a number of rental units at those rates. And because they're doing, they're using tax credits, they will be subsidized units. So, and we'll be talking about that and explaining all those. If anybody's got questions about that, we can talk a little bit.
I'd like to go back to this just a second, please.
Okay.
Just because I spent a lot of time trying to figure this out. I don't know if any of you guys can pick it up that quick. So, but I can tell you from my own experience that I had a big problem understanding the difference between the small, affordable, and the state regulated, you know, affordable, which is what we're talking about here. And it's very surprising. I don't think anyone is not going to be surprised that how high these figures are, that people are eligible to find one of these affordable, so-called affordable units. That's the big surprise. So, and these numbers keep going up all the time.
Well, let's
So
go back.
one of the things that I opened my mouth about and learned a lesson was, why is Ayer in the Cambridge zone of, you know, why are we here? Why aren't we just like moved one town over? Should the town?
One town over is moved over. We're just on the edge.
I know, but why, Shirley's in a different, they're in the Worcester district or whatever the case might be,
I
right?
think it was just people drawing lines.
Well, so I asked the question, why can't we just figure out a way to, you know, go to the other district and get these numbers down, you know, lower, so people with lower incomes could afford it. And then I got the big lesson, which was, well, when we apply for grants and we go out and we fill out applications for funding, the town
Yes.
receives higher rates of grants because we're in a higher income related area. So the two
Yes.
sides to every coin of this stuff is very complicated.
So it makes us have more affordable people in town. So when I am doing a CDBG grant and say we're doing Pleasant Street, we paved Pleasant Street with CDBG money, which is community development block grants, okay? And we did Pond Street and we did School Street, and that all was community development block grants. They can only be used for low-income people. So I have to,
Neighborhoods, low-income neighborhoods.
low-income people or neighborhoods.
Okay.
Okay, and if I'm going to do a road, I have to make that neighborhood qualify, and I knock on every door, usually at least 3 times, and ask them how much they make, and that goes over really well.
So, yeah, so the other part of this also, I believe, there is a asset value also for moderate and low income.
No.
Not any longer?
Well, there is, but you know, I have
They've stopped
researched
asking
and
that?
researched
Okay.
and researched it, because I keep wondering when I qualify people, how I'm supposed to deal with their assets. And what happens is, some assets count and some assets don't.
Okay.
But if they're accessing their assets and they're taking it as income in a given year,
Yeah.
I have to count it. If they're not accessing their assets at this, it depends on which program you're doing. So.
It's just it's a very complex
It
system.
is. And,
And the right hand doesn't always know what the left hand is
yes.
doing.
And the extremely low is not 30%. Now they've got a formula to come up with the extremely low.
Mhm.
The low income is 50% of the area median income. And so if, say I'm qualifying a street, I will go and I have to have 51% of the people on the street qualify under moderate or lower income. So I actually have to count on everybody on the street, and I have to have the street not be a through street. It can't be servicing, you know, a big district or that sort of thing. So I pick little blocks out that we can count that way. And we bring in a little bit of money and we put in new water and sewer. But it's good because you get into the lower income neighborhoods, and oftentimes they're the last ones to get services, so. Okay. So did anybody have questions about any of this?
This is gonna be an ongoing, you know, topic, okay, just because.
Will this be
of-
on the test?
You knew we were gonna have a test at the end of this.
So this is the one that I think is really important because it relates to the fact that we just need more housing.
Yeah, and there's another way to put it. The community will thrive with a larger expanse of people in the
Yes.
community. More diverse. Bringing in more,
Absolutely.
and that's something that we've seen everywhere.
And people see it, and everybody says how much they love the Cambridge of what you were talking about. And now the Cambridge is not as diverse. They got
No, it's not.
So on PBS a number of years ago, there was a really interesting documentary series on housing in the industrial housing from the very early. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but it's how rent control came into place. And when you understand what rent control was, and we gave up rent control. I'm getting too deep. But it's it's a very interesting series. If people are interested in housing, you might be able to find it someplace on. And they started out when all the peasants were coming in the series to the industrial centers where there were jobs, and there was no housing for them.
I remember those days.
I bet you do.
Actually, no,
Walkability.
Armstrong
And
over in
walkability,
Watertown.
yeah.
Yeah.
Linoleum floors were made in Watertown, the Armstrong factory.
That's true.
And there were thousands of people who walked to work.
Yeah, Goodrich.
My father worked to be a
Goodrich, Bay of Goodrich,
My
exactly.
father worked at the Hood River.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
road.
exactly, so to speak.
Nowadays, you go to the mall where that was.
Yes,
Yeah,
free sneakers.
You and I,
I was gonna say, you got tiger paws,
Unbelievable.
Goodrich.
we used to test the sneakers.
Yeah.
Not Uni Royale, but go ahead.
So that's my little piece, and if people have questions and come in and talk. I'm always happy to talk about the different things that we're doing and how it all relates. And there's a whole lot of people here that have a lot of information in different aspects of this. So I think it's great if we have conversations because everybody has something to offer here.
Cambridge recently, it was defeated, but they had a proposal that before a landlord could sell his house, he had to offer it to the tenants. It
Nice.
was defeated,
Oh, well.
So
but it was an
a
interesting
good-
idea.
Yeah, it was a good attempt.
If you go up to Montreal, they still have a lot of rent control. But the problem with Massachusetts and the United States is they wanted, the governments wanted their taxes, and they made rent control now. You have to have subsidized taxes if you have rent control. And on many of the units that are affordable, Big A, they have lower taxes. They have, if it's a condo, they have a lower condo fee. So they are subsidized in a number of different ways, and that's how we create some of this affordable housing. And Ken was talked about, remember when you first found out how much it cost to build an affordable unit?
Does
And how
anybody
much
else in the
time
room
it
know?
takes.
Probably not. So we went to a conference a couple of years ago. This is mind-blowing. And it took 6 years to build an affordable housing project. It was a new, the example, $425,000 a unit. That's what it cost to get those units on the market.
But that's an average across the state.
And 20% of it, if we're gonna have a beef about soft costs, which I'm not sure how much people have construction experience, but I have quite a bit. The soft costs are just astronomical. Like 25% of the cost is lawyers, planning, approvals, subsidized agencies, people, applications. There's a massive amount of loss in the construction part of it with just soft costs, not building a thing. And that's what it takes 6 years. So I'm going to be very interested to see, how this nonprofit can pull it off, in Ayer. And most of the successful projects in the state that are built recently by housing authorities, the land is free. They figured out a way in the town, a city, to break a section of land off, and I think we should be looking at that in a big way. And then that took them out of the ground. So that whole chunk of soft cost was wrong. Real estate fees and all the engineering and, a lot of other stuff was get the city and town involved right at the ground level, and they had a chance. It was over $400,000 to build a unit, like a 2-bedroom unit. So.
And I think that's one good thing about the Housing Trust, is the way the diversity of the members are, and the select board, so that if there are town properties that are available, then let's start looking at it. Because again, there is still, I don't know, someone told me once that there's a possibility of maybe 90 acres that may be available still to build on, but maybe 200 and some odd, but it's still a little more next to conservation land and whatever. But I mean, in the town of Ayer, we're running low. There's just not a lot of places to build. So it'd be nice to go ahead and be able to do that on this, the land that's available, but also to redevelop, take the CDBGF grant monies
We
and
need
go
block
ahead
grants, CDBGs.
and revitalize, the buildings that are here. Because again, what was it, 3 of them were built in the 1700s, so that they need some sort of assistance.
Good buildings are still standing.
I know, well, because they don't make them like that at all. It's like, oh. Right, so I'm gonna.
Says the fire department too.
Yeah, I know. We won't talk about Main Street there. So I'm gonna just move on, because as we're talking about affordable housing and such, one thing I want people to keep inside their minds is that when you're talking to individuals in town about affordable housing, they automatically go to 40B. They automatically say, not my backyard. It's like, they put up that wall of, all right, I know we need affordable housing in town. I know we do, but what's it going to do to the infrastructure? All this other stuff. Again, this is some of the other sessions that we're going to have, so that as you're talking to individuals about affordable housing, I almost want to switch it, so that we're talking about workforce housing. One statement that is inside our housing production plan is, we are a commuting town. People who live in town work outside of town. People who work in our town live out of our town.
It's almost the same number of people, which is fascinating.
Oh yeah, it really is.
It's like 3,500 people leave to go to work and 3,500 come into the town to go to work every day.
Yeah, and it's because people, and I think Jake, you said it when you were, during your interviews, is like you want to live in town, but you can't afford to live in town.
Right.
Okay, and with that, and even someone during town meeting, when it said we need to find ways to get people who are working in town, also being able to live in town. So if you can, like I said, just keep thinking about, all right, when we're talking about affordable housing, it's more workforce housing. It's to go ahead and get individuals who work in town to be able to live in town.
Change the narrative.
Change the narrative.
Change the narrative.
Yeah, because as soon as, like I say, as soon as people hear, 40B, it's like, and it's like, no, it's not bad. The only way we've been able to build housing that's affordable is because of the 40Bs throughout the whole state. So I think that's
not the
vital.
only reason, but
Pardon?
it's not the only reason.
It's a
Well, no,
contributing factor.
it's a big
We can use
factor.
examples already in town as well. So, we have the Habitat for Humanity homes that have been built. That
Right.
is
That's the Willows.
We have the Willows,
That's a
we have a
40B.
40B.
That's a 40B, yeah.
We have, some affordable units even up in Autumn Ridge. I didn't even know.
That was a 40B.
Yeah.
So there's examples of successful
Correct.
projects in town that we can
Yeah,
look
we do
back
have.
on.
Yeah.
People typically think of 40B. They typically think of something that is situated in an area of town close to shops and what you need when you live somewhere. And neither the Willows nor Autumn Ridge fit that mold. You need to own a car. There's no transportation. You're not walking to the shop and save from Autumn Ridge. Soon we'll be able to get them across town without roads, but we're working on that too. But the infrastructure doesn't exist. But oftentimes, the local option housing that's being thought up out on. Now, by the way, that's another way of talking about it. Local option housing is being thought up over here on Fitchburg Road. It's near the things people need when they live somewhere. You can't walk to a market basket in Littleton, but you can get what you need pretty close.
Yeah, and you can actually walk to the train if you need.
You can walk to the train, and if we build if we enhance the infrastructure in such a way, that's going to make a lot of sense, and that's part of the master plan too.
Correct.
So local option housing is another way to think about it.
I was thinking about.
Local option housing.
Local option.
That's what a 40B is, a local option housing project.
I like that.
Yeah, so to change the narrative, and another thing just came to mind too, about the process of the 40B, that typically developers are coming into town to build single-family homes. So we have enough outside incentive for the development community to come to town through our planning and through the fact people want to get it. But we need to incentivize the rest of it. We as a group need to incentivize the multifamily, the affordable concept, because we're in competition basically with the for-profit, angle. So we have to figure out a way to incentivize and get workforce housing built. Developers are going to take care of the rest. They're going to come in and build all the single-family homes on every piece of land. Right now, what's going on is every engineer that's in the area, every builder that's in the area within 15 miles of here is looking at Ayer, and it's looking at every single lot. And I do the same thing right in my home with GIS. And you just look at every lot and you say, okay, what part of town is it? Okay, that house, I can demo that, and I can put two houses on the same lot. I can break it in. We all know that there's a routine there. And that's going to be consistently happening a la Lexington, a la other towns, and it's going to happen here. It's going to be happening next. So what I'm saying is, we're not going to stop that because it's legal, but we need to put the effort into the workforce housing.
Well,
otherwise, who else is going to do it?
Yeah. And I think if we can go ahead, like I say, that one developer, just to let you know, I mean, the nonprofit company, they really you want a friendly 40B, as they call it, because you want somebody who's going to come in and work with the town, not just do a sticker and bang, that's it, out they go, and talk about absentee landlords, I mean, that type of thing. But we've got supposedly a company that is got the paperwork to the state, and like I was telling everybody right at the beginning, there are certain things that have to happen with the 40B. They got to get the approval from the state before we can even send it to the zoning board for them to start looking at stuff. It's got to be approved. So with that, you're going to hear people talk about, well, I hear that something's happening over on Fitchburg Road. It's possible. I mean, they can still be turned down, like say by the state and such. But yeah, you've got to start somewhere. An idea starts in your brain no matter what. So with that, it's like, okay, great. It's an idea. They started, looking at the plans of what they want to do and everything. Get it okay by the state. Then we've got a time frame. We've got specific dates that we've got to meet. Where it's 7 days from here, 14 days from here, 180 days. That all this stuff has got to go through zoning, getting approved, and public hearings and such. So if their plan comes to fruition, they're not only going to be building 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, 1 or 2, 3, 4 story, buildings, but they're also going to be building open space, which is like, this is what people, again, you want to be able to have that type of flexibility and the creativity of just not putting in cookie cutter buildings and such. This is going to have a flair to it. And again, when you're looking at the Willows and you're looking at Autumn Ridge, they've built a community. And if it's on Fitchburg Road, you're walkable distance.
Can I just point out something? So Autumn Ridge and the Willows were 40Bs, comprehensive permits. They did that so that they could get the density, but they were for sale. So that's a different group of people that they're gonna service. They're gonna service the moderate income person because they're the only group that can, and there's an important place for them. So they have to have so many units up there that get sold as affordable, and all those affordable units. I think Autumn Ridge has 17 or 19 affordable units in it, and they all have deed restrictions in it. I mean, not Autumn Ridge, the Willows.
The Willows.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
I think it's 4
yeah.
Autumn Ridge. It's much smaller.
Yeah, I don't know that it's 40B, but why would they have 4 affordable units if it wasn't a 40B?
It was built long before I ever became involved in planning here in town.
Yeah, before I was here too. So, but if you get a rental, and the only way you can really get a rental 40B is pretty much if it's got some subsidies to it, because the numbers don't work on it.
And by the way, we talk about 40B. We're talking about
Comprehensive.
but we're talking about Chapter 40, Paragraph B. Just so you know, we talk about Mass General laws like 183A is condo statute. We talk about the different laws. So 40B is just nothing more than a group of words. You know, just so we know. Everyone says, "Oh, it's bad. It's 40B." It's a group of words on a document. You know.
To encourage housing
Chapter 40,
development.
yeah.
To encourage
Yeah.
housing development and affordable housing development.
Exactly.
And density.
Yeah, and to what Alicia said about getting the open, I mean, Janet says about open space and stuff. We've got a lot of single family and other units coming into town right now. There's a lot of construction going on. The planning board has seen a lot. And through the changing in our zoning bylaws and things we offer to developers, we've maintained over 50% of the space being open. That some of our developments are here, our single family is on an acre of land. You get 40 acres, you get 40 houses. You get 22 acres, we're getting 26 homes and 14 open acres. So there are incentives that you can give to a developer to build the community the way you like to see it built out. And a similar thing could happen with a project that brings in rental affordable housing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And like I say, some of the programs we went to, one of the housing apartment complexes that didn't have town water or town septic had town sewer. They had their septic system on a field that was considered open space, right in the middle of the complexes.
That's
And
not
then-
uncommon at all.
Chapter, Brad, I
I
forget.
don't think
That
it was
zoned-
Chap.
It was, forget, I would.
Yeah, yeah, and I thought that was pretty impressive, to go ahead and be able to use it that way. All right, we're getting on to 8:30, so, so this is one, like I say, I wanted to go ahead and make sure, but I do like, the local option housing and making sure people just realize. I've got, again, definitions with regards to 40B, whatever, be a Mass General law enacted in 1969, all that stuff, but I get carried away sometimes with all the facts. And this is one, well, never mind, I'll come back to that. Next thing on the agenda, I'm just gonna keep moving, is rental assistance. So,
Excuse me, Madam
I'm sorry.
Chair. I'd like to congratulate you on keeping Al Minoyan to a very short presentation. Nobody's ever been able to do that.
and so we had Ron. I know, it's only 5 minutes. I think my face is turning red, so I'm in trouble.
It was a good presentation.
Yes, I know, that's why it's like, again, that's why I asked you to do it. Seriously, Ron, okay? Because it's all that information. I want that demographic, so I really do want to know who's coming into town. This here, the rental assistant programs, this is from MHP. You're going to hear their name stated often, which is Mass Housing Partnership. They are a lifeline, I don't know how else to call it, where we are going to be inviting a woman by the name of Shelley Gorin to do a presentation for us, because she's the one who gave us information on how to start the housing trust and everything. She is the backbone Inside, we're one of the main individuals of MHP, and to go ahead and get programs up and going, but also too, she has the information of how to use the community preservation funds and such. So this helps out, again, you always look for resources and whatever. But we're going to be starting to be asked for emergency rental assistance from individuals that are being evicted, because the eviction really ends end of July.
The eviction
right?
moratorium is tomorrow.
Extended.
It got
End of July.
end of July.
The Supreme Court.
So it's okay, July 31st to midnight.
Extended, that doesn't mean it is.
Right.
The Supreme Court said that today, said that it's okay
To extend.
But
No-
that-
No prohibition, but that
Is
doesn't
that on
mean
the
it's gonna-
federal level or the state?
Yeah, so it doesn't mean that it's going to be in any locale, it doesn't mean that it will be, it just means it's okay to do that. Thanks.
And a number of towns have chosen to use some of their CPAC funds
Correct.
to give rental assistance, anywhere from, $500 a month to, first they take applications in a period of time. They decide how much they're gonna spend in a year. And they set people up for anything from 6 months to a year of subsidizing their rent, maybe $500 a month. But $500 a month for a family that's, spending 70% of their income on their housing makes a big difference. It makes a difference in what they buy for food, or maybe medicine, or, sneakers for the kids and things like that. So that's
Keep
something
the
that we're
cars
gonna
on the way
want
to work.
these committees to talk
Right,
about.
exactly. And one good thing about it is, the CPA funds have already been, CPA stand for the Community Preservation Act, okay? That is what, in 2000, what the state created. So the act has the funds, the CPC is the committee itself within town that goes ahead. There's 197 CPC committees within the state of Massachusetts. With that, we've already, the CPC has given $30,000 to the housing fund, just so that it can be used to help out with this emergency rental assistance, just in case we need it. More monies can be asked, and that will be what the Housing Trust will go ahead and be able to do at the fall town meeting. So, again, looking at schedules, we'll have to figure out exactly when a presentation and how much money the Housing Trust really would like to have. Again, we started with 30 because we just wanted to make sure to get the ball rolling.
With this, so this document here speaks specifically, it's for like emergency rental assistance due to the pandemic, right? But are we proposing, was this group proposing that we develop something that would be ongoing way past that?
Well, this is a choice of the town.
Okay.
So, and the Housing Trust is the group that actually handles the money. We develop jointly the program, but the Housing Trust would be the one that would go and ask for the money and make the votes on the money and that sort of thing.
Is that similar to like the EFSP funding,
Which is,
the emergency food?
oh, yeah, so,
Like that comes from CDB, Community Development Fund.
Just say LOUC every now and again.
no, it's a little different actually. So there's the emergency rental assistance that came through COVID that is being, and that's being run in a regional situation. They're giving it out regionally. And Recap Solution and Community Housing has that. And then there's the RAF program, which is rental assistance
For families and transition.
for families in transition. I always forget the four, so I don't get to the for families in transition. And both of you, do you find that people are getting access to that money?
Yeah, and I actually saw that they increased the raft funding from 4,000 to on average 8,000 and can even go up to 10,000.
Yeah.
And they also increased the income limit to 80% AMI.
Yeah, and today I heard, I was listening to a program on the radio that right now there's $1 billion in Massachusetts for rental assistance available. So, and they're trying to extend, they're granting many more
I
applications.
send people over to Recap Solutions and nobody answers the phone.
CMHA.
Okay,
And because there's been such an influx of applications and because we're getting down to the deadline, they've now opened up like a third party to now process
Oh, okay.
the applications that I think is going through Metro Housing is, I think, and that's just the processing center. So like based upon where you apply, you're gonna get an application number. So like if you go through CMHA, it's gonna be like CMH and then a number after. But if you go to RCAP, they're bogged down. Because on top of, just those regional funds, they're also doing the home base administration for, all of Worcester County except for Worcester.
and they don't consider us Worcester County, but we're part of them, and so sometimes they're like, you don't belong to us, and that is a hardship. We're kind of in that corner where we're part, in some places we're at Cambridge, and some places we're at Worcester, and we're not always owned by anyone.
Just a little town.
Well, you laugh because we're doing stuff with the MPOs, MAPC and MRPC, and we don't really belong to either one, but they both want us. Or something like that. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So I just want to say to everybody, there's a whole lot of acronyms that we're talking about. Everyone should just feel comfortable saying, what does that mean? And everybody will get, it's going to take a while. It took the committee a good year or so to really start, okay, we're starting to get this. And
we're still learning.
Well, yeah, it's interesting to hear that there's $1 billion in the fund for emergency rental assistance. I happened to catch the TV the other day, and they want to extend the tax-free holiday from a weekend to 2 months. And I said to myself, really? Why aren't we doing housing? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? And so it's good to know that that's also happening, because that's never going to make it onto the news,
And I want to know, and anybody who has any information, are people getting the assistance? Do we think that people are going to need this rental assistance in town? This will be like a homegrown program where they just have to give us an application, they get to show us income, and we just make an agreement with their landlord that we would pay X amount per month for this long period of time. And is that worthwhile? And that's something that we'll all talk about when.
I definitely think so, especially, we do have such a diverse socioeconomic town, and, somebody already said people are one paycheck away sometimes. And so having this type of program, however many people utilize it or don't, to have it there would be a good safety net. I would just say, when considering your parameters or your guidelines for applying, to make it at least encumbersome or restrictive as possible. I think the one thing with most social programs is that they want your high school diploma. They want pictures of, there's so many, and there's so many. If you don't have this one piece of paper, you can't qualify. And it's,
When people are in that position, everything shuts down.
Yep, absolutely.
I can give people a list of places to call to get help. No, I have to call them with them,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
they
They're
just
overwhelmed.
literally can't. They're so overwhelmed. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Make it as easy as possible.
And I mean, COVID has, I think, taught a lot of people about, how beneficial technology can be, because before, if somebody didn't have transportation,
Yes.
getting to Worcester to get to RCAP Solutions or CMHA to try to apply for rental assistance, it wasn't happening. So, now with, some of the ERAP funding, they are able to apply right online. And I think that a lot of the landlords also don't know either. They can start the process and the application on behalf of the tenant. So, there is, the funds that are being accessed, and it's through both ways. But, I mean, I think for a lot of folks, it would be beneficial in Ayer. I think that there's a lot of people who are just prideful too, and because we do have the small community, kind of feel like maybe they're, not gonna go to their neighbor or, a friend or a church member and say something, but, would feel more confident to be able to reach out to somebody within, you know, the town hall. I do think it would be something
I know
beneficial.
that there's a lot of people that come to the pantry that tell us that because we're giving them food, they can now pay the rent.
Yep.
Yes.
Isn't that a horrible thing to have to choose
Yeah.
between food, meds, rent?
And I think another benefit to having something that's local is that it can be much more accessed quickly versus a lot of these state agencies.
Yeah.
The process takes so long that like we already talked about, like Section 8, the waiting list is 14 years long. But if you're able to be more reactive to something for somebody, that it will make a big difference, not just in being able to decide what else you can pay for, but the immediate need. People don't often seek services because they think they're not going to have rent in 6 months. It's because they haven't been able to pay their rent for 3 months.
Janet, can I ask you a question? We're trying to get to the point that a fall town meeting would be the next step of our, were we thinking, and I guess what I'm asking is, were you looking for support in getting like an annual funding? I think that's what your goal is, right? So we started with 30,000 last year, nobody even questioned it, was setting it up. Should we just be shooting for like 30 or 50, like every single,
Something like that. I mean,
every
I
single
really.
year to build the pool up? And then as your group sets up the trust has a way of getting funded, and I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
Correct, and you can ask for
And then you
funding.
can go for, so that's a town meeting commitment. But then on top of that, you separately have the potential of going to CPC for
For
a section.
additional, correct.
And possibly this is something that we should talk about at the next meeting, because along with the rental program that we need to talk about is what the trust will be responsible for. The possibility is that as we get funds for housing, if you put money into that pool, then a developer could come to the trust
Yeah.
versus coming to CPC
Correct.
if they need it quicker.
And this happened over the border in Littleton recently. There was an application to the town for a mixed-use affordable project, and the Littleton required them to have so many affordables, and they're actually going internally to get the money because with what's happened to building costs. They're looking at a 40% increase in cost from when the project started, just on supply, on buildings materials alone.
Right.
So they're looking back to the town to say, we want to make it good. Is there a CPC opportunity here?
Mhm.
It may not be a bad use of the money,
Mm-hmm.
because they're gonna put a bunch of units over there that make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because I know that Habitat for Humanity right now is hurting because they've got all these projects and, again, the housing costs of, the materials has gone through the roof.
The large builders bought the futures for almost all of the raw material.
Yeah.
Asphalt shingles, you can't get them.
Amazing. It's like, oh, but no, I think, we brought up at CPC that the Housing Trust is going to be coming forward, asking for monies, and I think it should be something just like the Conservation Fund, where the CPC put the $500,000 in for that, but now the town is adding money on a yearly basis. Same thing with this Housing Trust. We started it, with the $30,000. Now let's go ahead and keep feeding it. So again, this is quicker money. You don't have to go through, the only town process that you have to go through is when you first, start putting the money in, and then you ask, okay, for the additional monies. But once it's in there, if a developer needs it, it can just take a meeting to go ahead and vote. And again, make sure that the public is aware, have a private, have a public hearing or a public information session, so we keep everything as transparent as possible of this is how these monies are being used. But you don't have to wait 6 months to get to a town meeting. You can have to do this all within a approximately 1 to 2 month period, as long as you give the 2 weeks notice, and such. So that's the reason why these funds are so important, because it's quicker access to the monies. So yeah, to answer your question, I can see it being fed plus additional monies as the housing trustees fit, as they're looking at new projects, whether it's rental assistance, development, or, rehabbing houses. I mean, right now, I know that we've got, some things coming up to CPC, for money requests. Hence why we asked the town, and the town successfully gave us the 3%, rate. And with that, now we've got the monies to do all these things to make sure that we have, again, the housing, ball fields, playgrounds, things like that, so. All right, all right. On setting up the calendar, I found this meeting helpful, and I know I'm gonna look at you guys going, okay, I lied. It said, you guys are gonna be recorded, all right?
Up to 4 times a year, or is it at least 4
Yeah,
times?
at least 4 times, yeah, at least 4 times a year.
That's the part I checked, Jan.
It's like, I think, it's helpful, especially in the beginning, to be able to get, the ball rolling and, good foundation. I found this meeting helpful. I hope everybody else did, to get this type of information. Do you want to do this again next month? With everybody, and then we can sort of like get on your calendars.
Are you gonna keep it on Wednesday?
We can.
Yeah, we can. Oh, no,
Friday's
Wed-
impossible.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
Wednesdays are also
yeah.
tougher for you though.
No.
Are they
What's
okay?
the best date? Everybody can say, you pick a, Monday through Fridays, what works for you?
Monday through Thursdays.
They're Monday through Thursday.
Fridays are tough for.
Well, yeah, Friday's
Wednesday's best
impossible.
for you?
Wednesday, fine.
Wednesdays work well.
I just, yeah, and we can, what is today, what Wednesday of the month?
It's
It's
the
a-
last.
The last Wednesday of the month.
It's the
And the last day.
Didn't you notice all the paving projects happening around the state? Because they can get paid tomorrow. The warrants are good tomorrow, so they can work for 2 weeks.
That is true. So the third Wednesday of the month?
Do we want to do
Fourth
that?
Wednesday. I know, but are there always 4 Wednesdays?
I
I have to
think,
There's a fourth, the fourth Wednesday in July is the
I'd
28th.
say the third. Everybody's probably got vacation.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm away the 3rd,
Yes.
so I could do the 28th, I can't do
The
the.
28th?
Are we traveling again together this time? No, the 28th would work.
You're always
7
working.
days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Day off in 20 years.
That's what I
Yeah,
get
but-
out of real estate.
Ooh,
Yeah,
working
but
overtime.
You're out of a job at every Boylston
Okay,
Hub.
okay.
So the 28th?
So July 28th, 7 o'clock works out well?
Thank you.
Okay?
We'll confirm it with the,
Yes.
and we'll write you all emails and.
And then what I'm gonna have you guys do, right, because now you all have each other's emails, okay, is, keep in touch with each other. I mean, look at open meeting laws, you can't discuss, things and such. But inside your mind, think about if you do want to become the chair. Think about if you want to be vice chair. Those that love taking notes, to be the clerk. So that this way here, I'm thinking, and I'm just going to throw this one out to the committee, I'm thinking that it will be a housing trust meeting and the committee will be the invites. And we can have a separate meeting too as well to go ahead because there's still some
Minutes we have to do.
minutes, and I think it would be good then to start presenting you with some of the ideas that the committee had for policies, procedures, applications, things like that, so that paperwork has already been done, and then you get to play amongst the paper and everything else like that, going, I like this, no, I don't like this, and, edit. And this is like pretty much what we do with the bylaws. It was like as we came up with it, we just kept giving feedback and such. Does that make sense? Right? Yeah.
Is there like a crash course on like how trusts and committees work? Like, I don't know if like you guys know, I don't know anything about it.
We'll keep
So like
educating
any
this.
kind of like guidance or things I could,
I was gonna ask as well, is there any educational resources like online,
I'll
like any
send
state
you guys
websites
some.
we can look at and try to get like a better understanding?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can send you something.
That'd be good, to send it to all, so that everybody's on the same page. I
Did
mean,
they
I
have to, I was gonna ask that question, did they have to take the
Did everybody get
Open
sworn
meeting
in?
law, training,
Probably hasn't been done yet.
all that stuff.
No.
That's,
Okay.
maybe doesn't have to do it.
Okay, so
That's a
luckily
question.
you didn't have a meeting, you just came and sat in our meeting, but everybody has to be sworn in before you guys have a meeting. You go to Susan, and she'll swear you in, okay?
And there's no one, if I may, couple rules of thumb. Once we're sworn in as members of the Affordable Housing Trust, if there's 7 members,
Yes,
Yeah.
there's 6 right now. but-
so 4 is a quorum.
Yep.
So if you happen to be 4 in a room, don't discuss anything. Massachusetts open meeting law says when there's a quorum present, you cannot discuss it. Massachusetts open meeting law also says that anything discussed in an email is not available to the public, and it is not readily available to the public. So you might get an email from Alicia that says, for information only, not for debate.
Right.
You might want to write back, Alicia, you know, but you can't. So a lot of the information is one way, then you meet in a room, and you feel like you rehash it, but what you're doing is you're opening it up to the community at large, okay?
But you're also not allowed to discuss things serially, so you can hit quorum.
This is true.
By discussing it, if I discuss it with Jake, and he discusses
Yeah.
it with
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
John discusses
And-
it
and-
with
The
Jen.
important thing
We
was-
And then
just-
stays
we
there.
just-
You're not supposed to indicate,
Yes.
you can discuss things, but the more important factor is you're not supposed to indicate your stance on something.
Right.
Yeah.
Your opinion of something
Yeah.
when you have the discussion.
Cindy's
So
gonna
you
do something
can-
wonderful.
Cindy's got it?
But there should be.
The palace, but it's.
I know, we had to take a course.
Well, no, we had to
Yeah.
take, you know, you have to take a conflict of interest, we got to take an ethics.
Yeah.
All right, those 2 have got to happen.
I was gonna ask,
Okay.
because when I first got on the department, they had me take a couple of classes like that, and it would be nice to do some refresher
Okay.
classes.
All right.
Definitely.
And what'll happen is I think Cindy's going through it now. Annually, you need to answer a bunch of questions, and it walks you through
Okay.
how to break. And so one of the challenges, we're a small town. Planning board has multiple members who go to the same church.
Yeah.
It's just assumed that they're not doing planning board business while they are at church.
Correct.
Fair enough? Or if you go to fish fry night together, sit at separate tables, it's okay.
So just for my understanding, we are only allowed to discuss topics in a meeting like this,
Yep.
that where the public is able to access the information.
Yes.
Anything in private is a no-go.
But if you are doing research about it or have questions about it, you can ask.
Okay.
And when there's a structure like a chair, a vice chair, a clerk and stuff like that, Alicia's always available. So it very quickly becomes not a problem. It's like you're at the job. Some things for human resources, some things for your boss, some things for your coworkers.
Right.
You gotta have the conversation. Is that fair? I'm sorry to jump in, but.
No,
Yeah,
thank you.
And we can
That makes
discuss
sense.
when we're gonna meet. We
Yeah.
can always discuss when we're gonna meet as a group. That's
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
breaking
Okay.
laws.
Yeah. And that's I'm sorry, but that's a really good question.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Because again, you know, I've been doing this for so long, so, well, yeah, thank you. And Alicia's got the PDF file, right?
So on the town manager's page is something called the town officials toolbox, which has links to the open meeting law, public records, and some documents that the town has put together. For example, the board and committee member guide, which is a wealth of information in here about, just about, running your board or committee, and a checklist.
May I ask,
Sign
Madam
it
Chair?
too.
Will the members
Last
of the
page,
Housing
you have to
Trust
sign
get
it.
a .air.us email address?
It is a
Or they
sign.
use a personal email address?
I think you'll get this from Carl.
I'm gonna ask for a air.ma.us.
Good.
Email address, because one, it protects you legally,
Yes.
okay?
And it makes it very easy to manage the process.
Right, your personal stuff versus the town stuff. And also too, if anything does blow up, which, knock on for Mike, it hasn't for me, but,
You get that phone call from Janet. Hi, this is the 911 dispatch. No.
Yeah, we got Detective Barhart coming over. No, what do you call it? this way here, they don't look through your private stuff.
Yeah.
All right, same thing, you know, I mean, you may have your phone and whatever, but, it's like, just remember that if the town is being brought on any type of suit or anything like that, you want to keep your private stuff private. So that's why I'm gonna, what I'm gonna do, okay, is I will ask for your own email addresses, theair.ma.us. I'll go ahead and I'll contact Sue, and I'll CC you all of saying, okay, great, we need you guys to be sworn in as the Board of Trustees, as well as getting the documents from Carly on the links to the conflict of interest and the ethics. Plus also, I just thought of one thing and it just went, to, you know, again, to make sure that you've got, you know, all those resources and signed off. And whenever I think about it again,
And
I'll let you know.
Just so you know, getting sworn in takes 3 or 4 minutes.
Oh,
Not even.
mine was out in the
No, you gotta come and go, so it takes 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay.
And the ethics training and the other training we do on an annual basis, if you really take your time and read it 2 or 3 times, maybe 15 minutes total.
Yeah.
It's not an overwhelming, it's really
Just
better.
remember $50, under $50.
You can't accept anything, period, don't worry about it. But seriously, and they're great questions, and you have questions, Carly Antonellis in the select board's office, and Susan Copeland is the town, they are the resources to turn to.
Yeah, yeah.
And they can answer your questions, because they've heard them all.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right.
They've heard them all.
We're headed to the 9 o'clock hour.
me.
So again, as we get more education series, when we find, you know, different type of seminars, I think those that joined found them really helpful. So we'll keep, you know, distributing that throughout the group as well. And as we hear more things about projects in town, it will be, you know, this will be on the agenda and everything. So I'll still do the agenda and everything else for the 28th, in case it's on, you know, you guys don't mind. And, you know, get everything going, and then, again, as time progresses, we'll start branching off on our own and still have joint meetings, but.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask one more request, and Alicia, hate me if you want to say no.
Sorry,
I was unable to find anywhere on the town website the Affordable Housing Trust that we passed at the town meeting.
Oh, well,
I couldn't
we'll give you copies of that. That
Yeah.
should have been in your folders.
I couldn't find it, and I honestly wanted to go through it again, because
Yeah.
it's just one of those things.
Okay.
So we'll
It's-
give you a hard copy
Perfect, or
at the
just,
next
or just
meeting,
email
but
it
I'll
to, yeah.
email you a soft copy.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, I have.
I just couldn't find it.
Okay.
And that, you know,
It hasn't been loaded up onto the website, I don't think yet.
Well, that's also true. I think we need to create
No,
a
I
separate,
yeah.
yeah.
I didn't mean to throw you under the bus there, kid. Boy,
No.
what have you been doing with your time?
So, all right. So, the things I get to do on the midnight shift, you know, it's like I'll go ahead and generate all these website ideas, I send them over to Cindy. Okay.
I had a full-time job before I got 2 new committees.
I know that.
So it's
Hey,
like,
I'm only semi-retired, so I only have a few minutes a week, okay?
All right, so I'll send you the PDF file, you know, the
Thanks.
bylaw and everything.
Good, that's the other thing is, that's the guy, that's,
I'm sorry?
I was gonna say, that's the guide.
I'll send it
That's
to
what we
you.
ultimately have to do.
That-
Yeah,
does
shall do.
that-
Because like I said, we'll create that separate
Attorney
link.
General and all that stuff.
Yeah. Shall do.
Has he been accepted by the Attorney General?
I don't know
I don't know.
Is there
What,
a-
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
That's-
Does the housing trust document, since it went through town?
No,
meeting-
that's the other thing, I need to get in touch with Susan.
Yep.
Because we need, that's the thing, we need your signatures on it, because the Board of Trustees needs to sign it.
Oh, that's why,
That's why we need the structure.
yes.
Huh? Exactly.
Mhm.
So, yes.
I sign stuff for the town all the time. Don't worry about it.
That will be done. Okay.
Mine's so easy to do.
All right, can I
Mine
get
does
a
not look
motion
like-
to?
That's not mine.
Motion
I was writing, Sean.
All right. Meeting's been adjourned, we'll see you guys all on the 28th.